Hello. Try to make an entrance. My name is Miguel Vissers. I'm a PhD student at the University of Antwerp in Belgium. I am affiliated with the Department of Communication Studies. My research focuses on science communication in traditional media and more specifically on the newsworthiness of scientific research. And I'm here today to give a little bit more insight into the paper I recently published in the Journal of Science Communication together with my supervisors, Professor Gert-Jan Bruijn and Professor Paulussen, on the 14th of October of 2024. In this paper, we studied the press release communication from one Belgian university during the COVID-19 pandemic to better understand the tensions and the opportunities that are related to both public relations and science communication. A significant portion of university and health news is, after all, based on press releases sent out by scientific journals and by universities. In the first step, it are often universities, but also journals that write press releases on recently published research or on recent research. And in the second stage, it are journalists who write news articles based on these press releases. Science journalism is, however, under pressure due to time and resource constraints, making journalists more dependent on sources who subsidize them with information. For example, through press releases. This could lead to journalism where the content of press releases is published in news articles with little or no change, which could be problematic, especially because at the same time that press releases do serve a goal for science communication, they also serve a goal for public relations, and thus also for the public relations of universities. Multiple scholars have already argued that neoliberal tendencies are becoming more evident in higher education systems and in universities. In this context, the universities have intensified their PR efforts by, for example, expanding their press offices in order to publish more press releases and make the news more often. The goal is to enhance the reputation of said universities in order to be a well-established player in the field. This leads to the fact that university communication efforts are often mixed with both public relations on the one hand and science communication on the other hand. As a result, communications at higher education systems also have to balance the goals of both PR and science communication, which could lead to a tension. At the same time, it shouldn't necessarily be a problem, as skilled PR practitioners can actually increase the quality of science communication. The problem just arises when we try to make a differentiation between just science communication and just public relations. And it is this tension that led us to follow other authors who also suggested to view public relations and science communication on a continuum. All this led us to ask the broad question: what did the University of Antwerp communicate about during the COVID-19 pandemic? We tried to answer this research question through a quantitative content analysis of all press releases sent out by the University of Antwerp during the COVID-19 pandemic. Both deductive and inductive methods were used to code these press releases. In total, all press releases were read by myself for 5 times, where I did multiple rounds of coding and where I developed multiple categories. Initially, I did a 0-1 COVID-19 coding, meaning checking whether a press release mentioned COVID-19 or not. In the second stage, I did a 0-1 coding to check whether the press release was about scientific research or about something else, which led to 2 categories: research communication and institutional communication. Further, I developed inductive categories within both research communication and institutional communication. Within research communication, this was published research, announcements of research, and non-published research. Within the institutional communication, there were also 2 subcategories, namely the announcement by the institution and the organization of events. And during a 5th and final reading, I tried to identify whether a press release that also talked about COVID-19 tried to serve the COVID-19 wave. I did this by checking whether a press release mentioned COVID-19 but actually talked about something else. In our results, we see that not all the communication revolved around COVID-19, which was somewhat unexpected, as we expected the university to really focus on COVID-19 in its press release communication, as it has such an expertise with regards to vaccination. As you can see in this table, there is a greater emphasis on the virus, with 56.4% of all press releases referencing COVID-19 throughout their text, while at the same time 43.6% does not mention COVID-19 or synonyms anywhere. Furthermore, not all university press release communication talks about scientific research. 60.5% of all press releases are research-centered, with 10.3% of focus on published research, 20.3% on announcements of research, and 29.9% on non-published research. Making up 1/10 of the total communication, we argue that the communication surrounding published research is rather limited. This is especially the case for COVID-19, where only 1.1% of all the communication is about published research of COVID-19. We could say that it is due to the slower science cycle, as we have to publish these papers, it has to go through peer review, and the news cycle is way faster. But we looked at the database from the University of Antwerp and its publications, and it shows that there was enough supply with regards to published research to communicate way more about this published research. We presume a somewhat strategic choice was made by the press office here, as the university seems to have chosen to work itself into the news, which is a PR goal, with other types of science, which is a science communication goal, by focusing on non-published research and announcements of research. So here we see how public relations and science communication could actually become entwined without it becoming necessarily problematic. By frequently communicating about ongoing topical research, the university is able to work itself into the news whilst also giving a broader idea of the research that is being performed at a university. Overall, we also believe that a combination of press releases about published research, non-published research, and announcements of research is a good thing for a university. Published research is important to be considered a valuable scientific actor, but we also recognize that the role of a university extends beyond this. There's also a goal of providing topical information that could be used for policymakers, which was especially the case during a crisis like COVID-19. And a final interesting intermingling of both public relations and science communication is when the press office tries to serve the COVID-19 wave. Throughout all research communication, they sometimes use the COVID-19 pandemic to make other research more topical, valuable, interesting. So they link it to the pandemic. For example, when they're talking about a vaccine for HPV, they link it to the COVID-19 vaccine. It is through a certain public relations manipulation that the research and thus science communication becomes more topical, thus further clarifying this continuum between both public relations and science communication. To end, I would like to give some insights to both practitioners and researchers. The approach of using this continuum aims to alleviate tension between public relations and science communication. It offers a way to understand the unique position of universities in the communication sphere. These PR techniques can also offer a chance to have policy support and more engagement with the science that is being conducted. This approach also has risks. As journalists become more and more dependent on sources who subsidize them with information, the balance might shift from the journalists who have the power to convey a message to the press office. Apparently my cat also wants to add something. You are no co-author on this paper, but you are very welcome to be here. It is also in this context that we argue to provide more funding and means for critical science journalism, whilst also strengthening normative principles in higher education communication. That was it for me. Thank you for watching this video. If you are interested in the research we conducted, please check out our article at the Journal of Science Communication. Here we provide more insights in this continuum of public relations and science communication, and also offer some opportunities for future research. I would like to thank you once more and hope to see you again. Bye-bye.